Anyway, Mr. Hui, we are recording. It's nice to have you here in Manchester.
Thank you, mate. I've come halfway across the world to get here,
I
bro.
was going to say all the way from New Zealand, but it's not really from New Zealand at the moment. Where were you before the UK?
I was in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
About 12-hour bus ride.
That's right.
That's about halfway flying to New Zealand.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You didn't want to do the 45-minute flight.
Nah. When you're
That's-
traveling for this long, you're really operating on a budget, eh? Especially when you're a year into it
Yeah, man.
and there's not much money left. You
Yeah.
pick the cheapest option over the most direct option.
Yeah. We want the 12-hour bus. It's way more exciting too, right?
Way
on the
more
bus,
exciting,
right?
yeah. Sleeping a lot, really good for your back, really good for your neck as well.
Don't have to pay for the chiropractor.
Nah. I got you, bro.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so today, obviously, I reckon it's going to be primarily focused around your traveling, given that you have been traveling for over a year.
Yep.
So we might...
A few stories.
Yeah, a few stories in there. We'll talk about, set the context a little bit for people who don't know you before we dive into it. But like I was saying before we started, I want to find a consistent way of starting these mates episodes. So with Brad's one, I got him to state his name and occupation.
Yep.
So I thought we might carry on with that theme. So can you please state your name and occupation?
I'm Aidan Hui, and occupation before traveling, engineer.
Yep.
Now I think I'm unemployed, about to be living with my parents.
Sick.
Back home in Whakatane. I'll be back there in a couple of months. But that's my occupation for now.
Yep.
Unemployed. And
That's so sick. I just had this fear that I didn't turn the camera on. Let me check this real quick. Okay, no,
we're good to go.
Yeah.
Better to check now than 2 hours later.
Half an hour into it or something, yeah. Yeah, man, occupation, I guess, you can't even say you're a professional traveller because you'd have to be getting paid to do that,
Yeah.
right?
I'm just a bum, essentially.
You are paying to travel.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for that. So, to start us off, before we dive into all the travelling stuff that you've been doing, for people who don't know you, could we just talk a little bit about your time growing up in Whakatane and
Give a bit of context.
yeah, what your those foundational years were like for you?
Yeah, so for people that don't know where Whakatane is, I don't think many people do.
Yeah.
Tiny little town in New Zealand, about 30,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up there, born and grew up there, and parents own a restaurant. So pretty much for most of my life, while I was living there, all through high school until I left working at the parents' restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, went to uni for 4 years to study, and then came back again and started working at an engineering firm there. So pretty much spent most of my life in a small little place in Whakatane. You've lived there, you know what it's like.
Yeah, your parents employed most of us. Well, a lot of us.
Employ most of the town, really supporting the community.
Yeah. How old were you, do you reckon, when you did your first shift at the restaurant?
First proper shift, probably 8. Maybe even younger.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
But
really
you're
really
still...
young though, just born into it, eh?
Yeah.
After finishing school, always got to go with the parents down to the shop and help out. So yeah.
How do you reckon being first generation Kiwi and your parents being from Hong Kong sort of, I don't know, shaped your perception of the world or your identity growing up in Whakatane?
Yeah, first generation born in New Zealand. I think didn't really realize what it was like until I started traveling, and with the identity as well. I obviously got the Asian features, but from my accent you can tell more Kiwi, so I identify more as a Kiwi.
Yeah.
And that question comes up a lot while traveling as well, especially around Asia. They'll ask me where I'm from. They think I'm a local. Most of the time in Asia, they just start speaking the local language to me. And then I have to tell them
what's that,
I can only speak English, mate.
Yeah.
But shaping it, I think it's given me a non-judgmental look on what people look like, especially because I was on the receiving end of it.
True.
So it's more about how people treat me than as to what they look like. Straight, I think I'm a lot more open with how people look, and it doesn't really affect me. I don't have any preconceived notions of what they'll be like. It's just how they treat me, and if they're good cunts, then
yeah. What about at school? Did you ever feel different?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And in Whakatane, there's not
Yeah.
too many Asian families, eh? So I definitely stood out at school.
Yeah.
I think over the years, there's been more diverse culture in Whakatane, but when I was growing up there, I think at intermediate school, I was probably one of two Asian families at the school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely a little bit of racism as well, but
Mm,
that kind of, I think, toughened my skin a bit to really just roll with it,
yeah.
make jokes out of it, and
I
yeah,
was gonna say, I feel like you really leaned into it. At least
yeah,
at high school, I can't speak for you, but there's definitely like light-hearted racism,
yeah.
is what I would call it. Like, was it Jason Raku
Jason
Raku?
Akuraku, yeah,
Yeah, you
right.
guys are like rush hour and
Yeah,
like, all
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of stuff. And
yeah,
I feel like you leaned into that, but obviously not being Asian, it's hard for me to know if that was like uncomfortable or
yeah,
if it was funny to you. I feel like most of the time you were laughing along,
yeah.
like,
I think yeah, just rolled with it really well. Eh? Like if you start taking offense at it and it's kind of happening every day,
yeah.
you're not going to have a good time. Oop, so
What
just
happened to
no,
that TV turn off? Oh,
not sure.
did your
Um,
movie just start playing?
no, I think I just went to sleep, and
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know where the sound came from.
I went to sleep, so it started playing a video. That makes
Yeah.
sense, eh?
Um,
That's
but
right.
yeah, in high school, definitely you just learn to roll with it, have fun with it, and
Yeah.
pretty much most of the time it was just light-hearted joking. Never really take offense to it, eh?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. What was it like? I was just thinking about you growing up basically in a restaurant is such a unique experience having to go to school and then like maybe go home for an hour or something
yeah,
and then go to the restaurant. Do you
yeah.
think, like, how do you reckon that, I don't know,
You end up
constructed your work ethic and like that kind of stuff? Like, how do you think that affected you?
you end up missing out a lot of common ground with other people your age. I found.
True. Yeah.
Especially even now, like after school, I think most kids go home, maybe chuck the telly on
Yeah.
or watch some movies or go out and hang out for a bit, but never really had that.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, really uh, didn't appreciate my parents for it. You know,
Mm.
when you're a kid, you just want to get along with mates and share like
Be included.
be included
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
be able to go to school the next day and talk about what was on the TV the night before. But
True.
never really had that growing
Yeah.
up. Um, but what it did give me was like you said, work ethic.
Mm.
Um, knowing that I just had to go down to the restaurant and do something I didn't like, but had to push through it.
Yeah.
So work ethic wise, I think and seeing my dad work hard at the restaurant, 13-hour days sort of thing.
No days off,
Yeah,
literally.
no days off. So work ethic really good, but growing up, sharing a lot less common interests
Yeah.
with other kids my age as well.
That's an
So that was a
interesting
bit tough,
point. Yeah.
and definitely missing out on some events, not being able to go. So I was like, nah, you're coming down to the restaurant today, mate. You're not going out. So yeah,
Yeah.
missing out on a few things like that. But looking back at it, looking back at it now, like not too bad, but at the time, yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't too happy.
It was the most important thing to you growing up, eh? You want to be included and
Exactly,
you want to
yeah.
feel like you can talk to people about the same stuff.
Yeah,
and-
exactly.
yeah, I remember one of the main activities we would do after school together was like badminton club. I remember like you
Yeah.
went real hard there.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
like me and Caleb would come down every now and then.
Yep. So yeah, mum gave me a little bit of time off to go do that, but most of the time it was just going home
Mm,
for an hour, having a quick feed, and then going straight to work until like 9, 10 o'clock as well.
yeah.
And back then, actually, like the restaurant stayed open until a lot later. Customers stayed in for a long time until like 11, 12 o'clock. So growing up was literally most of my time at school or at the restaurant,
Yeah.
even more so than being at home.
Because then you'd have did you catch the bus to school as well? Or
No, I
did you get
didn't
dropped off?
Yeah, got dropped off, but
Yeah.
caught the bus home.
It's still
with it.
early though, eh? That you'd have to get to school in the morning, even if
Yeah.
you're getting dropped off.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
growing up, it's like sweet going to bed after work at the restaurant, 12 a.m., midnight,
Yeah.
1 a.m., and then waking up the next morning and feeling
Like 6 or 7,
Yeah.
and you have to wake up.
yeah, real different sort of lifestyle, I think, to most kids, eh?
Yeah.
Just and even talking to the teachers, I think a lot of the time they'll be like, I don't know if they felt sorry for me, but like, oh, yeah, this kid's living quite a different upbringing to most others in the room.
Especially like most kids would have a set bedtime of 8:30 or 9 p.m.
Yeah.
or something. Like you wouldn't really through school be staying up till 10 or 11 at night,
No.
maybe in the weekends, but
But
yeah,
that was
that's
the
a
norm for
very
me, yeah.
yeah, that's a really unique experience, eh?
Yeah.
Damn, bro.
Even
That-
like movies and stuff, or like pop culture stuff, a lot of it was missed out on.
yeah,
Just talking to people at work now, it's quite funny seeing their reaction about how I haven't seen the classic movies of the times when I was
yeah,
growing
yeah,
up. They're
yeah.
quite shocked. Yeah.
Yeah, the only way I can resonate with that a little bit is say with something like sport, like
Yeah.
football. I've never like I'll watch it if it's on and stuff like that, but I've never paid for a subscription to something, like never seen enough value in it to pay for it.
Yeah.
So especially obviously in the UK, it's massive
Yeah,
here.
of course.
I don't really know what who's on the table, top of the
Yeah,
table, what
yeah.
the score was.
Yeah.
So when people talk about that here, I'm like, oh,
Yeah. So pretty much like that, but
yeah.
for a
A
lot of
lot
other
more
aspects.
things. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, man, that's so interesting. All right. I reckon we get into some traveling stuff. Do you want to just either sit a bit closer to your mic or pull it a little bit closer?
Oh, yeah, pull it a little bit
Whatever's
closer.
easier for you. Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
No, that's all good.
I'll come forward a little
You
bit.
can pull it a little bit closer.
I'll do this for now. I'll pull
Okay.
it closer when I come back. It's all. Is that one fist? Yeah, it should be good, eh?
Yeah, yeah. But when was it? So you went to uni, studied engineering, you had
Yeah.
a job for a few years, or you're having to commute a lot for your work.
Yeah.
When was it that this idea of traveling the world, like not just doing a little trip, but actually dedicating a year or two of your life to traveling? When did that idea kind of come into your head?
Pretty soon after moving back to Whakatane, eh?
Yeah.
Maybe after a year of work, and then realizing that there wasn't much to do in the town, and
Yeah.
wanting to go and explore a little bit. But the initial plan was to maybe work for 2 years and then go traveling.
Yeah.
But then COVID hit,
Oh yeah.
so which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. That really fucked up my plans a little bit.
Yeah, threw a spanner in the works.
Yeah, really threw a spanner. No getting around that one, eh?
Yeah.
So after 2 years, COVID fucked that up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, just got to push through it. And then 2 years became 3, and it became 4. And then kind of by the end of the 3rd year, I'd say travel was becoming a bit more normal again.
Yeah.
And from there, I was like, okay, yeah, I think we're going to start planning and really making this happen. But yeah, big motivation for it was just moving back home, I think, and being stuck.
Yeah.
In the place, locked in, first job, so you kind of want to work there for a couple of years, get a bit of experience. But yeah, after a couple of years, I was kind of, I really need to get out of this place, explore for a bit, and I just wanted to do like a proper trip. Coming from New Zealand, you have to really fly like at minimum 4 hours to commit.
Yeah.
To commit and go overseas, and once you're over there, you want to make the most of it. Flying for 10 hours to get to Asia, and then another 12 hours after that to get to Europe. So they may as well make this a long trip and make it worth it, not just do a couple of weeks and fly back home, but really stay and explore for as long as possible.
Yeah, and was it because you've traveled with a group of like 4 of you? Eh?
Yeah, 4 of us total.
Was that always a thing, or was it your idea and then you kind of talked to them, or how did that sort of come about?
Yeah, so initially it was going to be me and Matt, or I brought the idea up with Matt maybe 2 years into working.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, let's are you keen to travel? It'd be great to do it with someone that you get along with really well.
Yeah.
And then after COVID happened, and then by the 4th year, started talking to some friends about what we were going to do, and talked to Sristi, and she was really keen to do some traveling as well. I think everyone was kind of hitting that stage of just burning out or being tired from doing the same job for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So it was me and Matt, and then Sristi decided to join us, and then Matty as well. He also got the itch. I think he wasn't going to join us until about 6 months into our trip, because he'd already done a lot of Asia. So he was only going to join us a bit later. But near the end of the planning, he was just like, nah, fuck it. Like, what's the point of waiting? Like, you guys are going to be having a mean time. I'm going to be stuck at work just waiting. Yeah. So he decided to quit when we did as well, and we all just left together, the 4 of us. So yeah, it was a little plan in the make. I think I'd say I initiated the idea of it,
Mhm.
and then Matt got on to the same level of sick of work, and then
Excitement.
the more people we talk to, it's like, oh yeah, these guys are feeling the same way, and then ended up having a group of 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Should we test out the photo? Do you have a cute group photo? Do you reckon you could pull up?
Yep, I've got a crack at little one here, the 4 of us.
So if you're just listening, if you're watching, if you're listening on Spotify, you should be able to. Oh, look at that! Yeah, that ready. If you're listening on Spotify, you should be able to have a look at the video as well, so you'll be able to watch it. And obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, but if you can't look at your phone or whatever right now, it's a cute photo of 4 of them on a scooter. Whereabouts is this?
This was in Vietnam. We ended up hiring a lot of scooters in Vietnam.
Yeah,
There'd be 4 of us, so we get a scooter between 2 people.
yeah. So this is just for the photo.
Yeah. This is just for the photo. This wasn't the norm. This wasn't the norm.
That's quite impressive that 4 of you could even fit on that. That's quite a long seat.
It was a bit of a challenge for us because traveling around Vietnam, we just see, and this was the norm for a lot of families. So that like normally 3 people, 4, a bit of a stretch, but yeah, like this was quite a common sight.
Yeah.
Normally you'd have the parents on the scooter, and then in between the parents there'll be one of their kids, and then one on the back as well. So we saw that, like, sweet, let's give that a go. Let's see how many people we can actually fit on here.
Yeah.
And yep, 4 was definitely pushing it.
Yeah. Could you give us a little, like maybe like 1 or 2 sentences about each of the people that you're traveling with in terms of like what they do and sort of where they're from?
Yeah. So we're all engineers. That's how we met. So we all studied down in Christchurch. Became really good friends there. Essentially lived together, or we all lived close by, so knew each other really well. That's Matt in the front, electrical engineer from living in the Whakatane, and he was living in the house next to me. So it was me and him when we first started planning the trip. And then that's Matty to the left of him, civil engineer. Yeah, the 3 of us were mechanicals, so he always got a little bit of shit.
Yeah.
And then me in the back, and then Sristi and the pink helmet. Yeah, all mechanical engineers and ready to go on a big explore of the world.
That's sick, man. And how has it been traveling as a group? Like, I know we all caught up over a beer and whatever, and you were saying it's been pretty good and pretty smooth. So, like, how has it been traveling as a group?
Being in a group of 4, I think, is the perfect number.
Yeah.
For example, getting a taxi from the airport or just catching a grab.
True.
It's a perfect number for 4. Chuck our bags in the back, and then you end up splitting the cost 4 ways. So a lot of the time, it ended up being cheaper to catch a taxi than to get public transport, and way quicker, way more efficient. So for the money aspect, brilliant.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, like renting a room as well.
Yeah, like a hostel or something, right? Yeah.
A hostel. For 4 people, it's quite normal to have like a 4-person room, so we just book that out for the 4 of us and split the costs.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we'd be sharing like double beds or queen beds.
Yep.
So just be a room with 2 queen beds, and we just share a bed between the 2, rotate between the beds who'd be sharing with who.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good for money wise as well, instead of staying in hostels, which I think is quite a typical backpacker experience. We got quite lucky in a way to be able to get something a little bit nicer and still end up being cheaper than going to a hostel by yourself or something like that.
Yeah.
And the group dynamic was really good as well. Like I said, we all knew each other from uni, so we all knew each other really well and what the limits were between each other.
And like the living together kind of context as
Exactly.
well, not just like catching up every now and then.
No. Living and traveling together.
Yeah.
But it helped that we were all quite easygoing people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that we met were, a question they'd always ask us once I found out we were traveling as 4 was like any big conflicts, like how is it traveling as 4? And like, honestly, we never really had any massive issues with each other. Like, we're still really good friends now. Like, and that surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, that is quite surprising, because you guys did a lot of travel together in New Zealand as well, which probably helped.
Yep.
But like being mates, but then actually traveling together can be so different, because there's almost like traveling styles, right? Like you guys love getting into the outdoors,
Yeah.
but some people just hate getting into the outdoors and want to just be by a pool all day.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong, but if one person's wanting to go climb a mountain and one person wants to just sit by the pool,
Yeah.
you're gonna have some conflict
Yeah.
there, right?
Definitely. So having similar hobbies
Yeah.
really helped, but the fact that we're all easygoing also helped a lot as well. Just sweet, should we go? A lot of the conversations kind of went, oh yeah, I've looked this thing up. Should we go do that? And yeah, sweet. Let's just go check it out.
Yeah.
We weren't too strongly opinionated on exactly what we want to do.
Yeah.
And that was the like other beauty of traveling is for as well. Like if one person wanted to go do something, there'd be one other person that could tag along.
Yeah.
And then the other two might just stay at home and just chill for a bit. Instead of now that I've been traveling as two people, you get into a bit of a situation where like one person wants to go do something, so the other person has to go.
Yeah.
You don't really want to leave them alone, or you feel bad.
Yeah.
But with four, it's like sweet. Me and you can go do this, and the other two can go do that. Like you always still have company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 or 4 people traveling is great.
Yeah, that's cool,
Yeah.
man. And I'm sure people are wondering, how do you financially plan to travel for so long? Like, did you guys all have the same strategy? Did you like go for a month? We roughly need like this amount, or like what was it like trying to financially plan for something like that?
So we were pretty lucky having like the engineering jobs for 4 years. I think the pay
Yeah,
was pretty decent.
yeah.
Um,
That was probably a small blessing from COVID, really, eh? Is that
honestly, it was, yeah.
gave you more of a saving buffer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the time when COVID hit, pretty pissed, like pretty fucked off. Like I just want to go now.
Yeah,
But it did end up being a bit of a blessing. Like I ended up being able to save a lot more,
yeah,
and yeah, being able to travel for like a year now. Probably wouldn't have been able to do that if I just worked for 2 years and fucked off.
yeah,
But yeah, so extra with COVID, extra few years of saving, and then for the planning wise, it was kind of we all kind of had like a rough overall budget
yeah.
for how much it would cost,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what we worked off.
Yeah,
And I think Matt and Sristi, at the end of every month or at the end of every country, they kind of do a quick budget of how much you spent,
yeah,
which has been really interesting to find out like how much it costs to travel or to backpack in one country for a month. Like in Vietnam, for example, for 1 month, I think they said we spent about 2,500
that is
for a
like
month.
a whole month.
Yeah.
Too. So that's 2,500 NZ dollars,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for the month, and
Damn.
it's been really fun comparing like the costs for each country, and
Yeah.
yeah, quite eye opening as well.
Mm.
But yeah, like when we all left, we said, yeah, sweet, this is kind of how much we have,
Yeah.
and I was really lucky being able to go to Asia first because it
Yeah.
was so much cheaper.
Yeah.
We spent about 10 months there, and the costs on average for each country were roughly around the same. Like maybe until you got to Japan, the Southeast Asian countries were around like 3K a month. And that included accommodation, all your
That's
transport and food as well.
insane.
Yeah,
Because
and
like a night's ACOM almost anywhere in Europe, you'd be looking at £100.
Yep.
Like easy.
yeah, well, yeah, and that's depending what country you're in. It's for like 80 New Zealand dollars or 50, 60 pounds. It's to stay in like a hostel
Yeah.
with 15 other fucking people.
Yeah, massive fucking.
While in Asia, like Malaysia example, or Bangkok, you spend $40 a night and you get a whole apartment to yourself. If you're lucky, the complex has like a nice swimming pool, a gym and sauna facilities as well. So
It's like
it's
a takeaway burger in the UK.
Yeah.
Like £20.
honestly like a meal out.
Yeah.
And it's a whole
yeah.
night's accommodation in some of these cheaper countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So roughly how many countries have you been to so far?
I think over 20, 23, 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you started out, where did you first start out?
Started off in Singapore, so that
Singapore.
was our first country. Just spent 3 or 4 days there.
Yeah.
And you want me to go through every country? Or
No, maybe not every country.
Yeah. But yeah,
Just
start
somewhere
off
you
in
started.
Singapore first, and like I said, 10 months just traveling around at most of the Asian countries,
Yeah.
and then hopped over to Turkey, through the Balkans, and our first I guess, Western European country was Slovenia first. So
Yeah.
coming into there, and once you hit those European countries, you notice your money goes down a lot quicker, eh?
Yeah.
Even going to
Yeah.
Turkey, that was a bit more pricey than I expected.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize what the costs would be like.
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was going to be more expensive, but I didn't know how much more expensive it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most expensive place so far? Is it Switzerland?
Definitely Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty crazy.
It's
eh?
like they actually make up prices there, eh? Like when we went, I would go to like just look at restaurants,
Yeah.
like the menu, how
Yeah,
they have
right,
it outside.
same.
I'm like, how much is, and it'll be like 40 francs for like spaghetti bolognese or
Yeah.
something. I'm like, what?
Bro,
Like it's,
going to the supermarket was a pretty crack up experience, eh?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
walking in and checking out common items you'd buy back home and
Yeah.
seeing the price of them there. I think I told you, like, for kg of chicken,
Yeah.
it was like 68 New Zealand dollars. For reference, in New Zealand, it's like $14 or $16, so it's 4 times the price for
It is
some
insane.
chicken.
It's like I was telling you, but I had that guy Bo on the pod, and he lives in Switzerland, but he's right by the border with Germany.
Yeah, that's quite common.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does his shopping in Germany. Even
Yeah.
like he's like, oh, if I want an ice cream, I'll just cycle over to Germany and
Yeah.
grab an ice cream from there because it's so expensive in Switzerland.
It's crazy pricey there. Like, just for a coffee and a croissant or something, you're paying double or triple what you would back home or
Yeah.
in the neighboring countries.
Yeah, right next door, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
As we already kind of mentioned, you guys are really into the outdoors. You've
Yeah.
had some pretty crazy outdoor experiences while
Yeah.
you've been traveling. Because, you post a lot on your Instagram, and that's probably a good thing to note.
Yeah.
Right now, you post some really cool posts on your Instagram if people want to check it out. But your outdoor experiences, just from like a high level, how do you think the outdoor experiences that you've had so far compared to those that you've had back in New Zealand?
That's the thing. Like, coming from New Zealand, you kind of take it for granted how beautiful and lucky you are to have New Zealand outdoors. Like the beaches you have within 2-3 hours drive, I guess, of anywhere in New Zealand, you're pretty close.
Yeah.
And the quality of those beaches is so nice.
Like coastlands, right? Whakatane, like coastlands, a Hope.
Exactly. Like a lot of these nicer beach countries like Thailand or Philippines, people are coming from halfway across the world from Europe to experience those beaches.
Yeah.
And in New Zealand, you kind of have it on your doorstep. Like I think what made when I realized was when we went to Bali.
Yeah.
And we went to like a nice beach.
Yeah.
But then it's just filled with people or sunbeds, which was such a weird concept for me. Going
like
to the beach
becomes a commodity.
Yeah. Like for me, going to the beach in New Zealand, you've got wide open space, kick the ball around, throw the frisbee around, and then you go to these more popular touristic beaches, and it's just completely filled with sunbeds. You can't even see the sand anymore, and you have to pay to use the sunbed. There's no space for activities or either swimming or on the sunbed. It's so bizarre.
Really strange.
So bizarre. I really didn't like it. And that's when you realize how lucky you have it in New Zealand. And that's just for beaches. For other outdoors, like the mountains as well. You've got the Southern Alps and the South. Yeah, like traveling was definitely an eye-opener to how well we have it in New Zealand.
Yeah, it is easy to take that kind of stuff for granted. Even
Definitely.
growing up, like say how we grew up in the North Island, the South Island's sick and it has the Southern Alps, but you're kind of like, I'd rather spend money to go to Europe, or I want to go to Australia, or you think the thing that's further away must be better.
Yeah.
And then it was actually COVID time that we ended up going down south a few times, and it just makes you realize
It's a beautiful place, right?
Yeah,
and it's not. I think that's the beauty and the negative of being so far away from everyone, and being in New Zealand, you're just far away from every country. You get less loaded with tourists in these touristic places compared to, I don't know, the Dolomites or the French Alps. There's so many countries close by. You just get filled with tourists, while in New Zealand, you get some tourists, but compared to European countries, it's still really not that full.
Like we went to the Amalfi Coast and went to Positano, and it is so It's beautiful, but it is definitely Instagram versus reality kind of thing
Yeah.
where on your photos it looks so colourful and the water's so blue,
And
but
then there's
it's
like a
just
line of 100 people
yeah,
waiting to take a
all just
photo.
fucking taking the same
Yeah.
photo, and the beach is just full of the
Yeah.
sunbeds. You like can't even put your shit down. It's so busy.
Yeah. It takes away a lot of the experience, hey, when
Yeah,
it's filled with a lot of tourists. But
exactly.
you're one of them, so you
Yeah, yeah,
can't
yeah,
really
yeah.
complain too
Look at
much.
these fucking tourists. Why are they? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of swimming, you were talking about well, we've been chatting about how you've been getting into your free diving and stuff. What
Yeah.
has been like one or two of your best swimming experiences so
Yeah.
far?
I've got a few, like I'll pull up some photos later. I'll
Yeah,
pull one up now, actually.
yeah, you can have a look because when that's while you're doing that, me, Aidan, and our mate Andy, we went for a walk in the Peak District here in the UK, and Aidan was saying how he's been getting into his free diving lately. And you were diving, was it over a ledge, Jay? And there's like a turtle.
Yeah,
And
just massive underwater cliffs, and you
yeah,
got turtles chilling underneath the cliffs. And yeah, Philippines was where Matt, he does a lot of free diving back home.
yeah,
And in Philippines, we were able to hire some cheap fins and snorkels. So he kind of taught us how to equalize, and
yeah.
it was really fun. So
So sick.
Philippines was probably one of my favorite places for swimming.
Oh, that water is
But
so
like, look at that
clear,
water, bro.
man.
That's so juicy. Like,
But
don't you just want to go and swim in that?
yeah, how deep do you reckon that is? Would you have any
But
idea?
that is maybe 3 meters. But when we got to Philippines and we hired one of these boats, just went on a boat tour, and
Is that the thing that you hired? That was the private.
yeah, this is the private. I don't know,
That's
it's
so
like
sick.
a cat. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of like a catamaran, eh?
that's what they all have in the Philippines
Yeah.
around Palawan Island. But this was Coron, or I think this was Coron.
Mm.
And that was where I had my first experience of kind of pristine, clean turquoise water that you kind of see in all the photos and
Movies
videos.
and
Yeah, in the movies,
photos.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And being able to experience it, it was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's really nice.
And when you see it in movies and photos, at least that's what it was like for me. I always assume like, nah, it's oversaturated or they've the photo edited it or something. But then you see it in person,
and it's
like,
real.
wow, it's actually legit.
Yeah.
Like, exactly how it is.
Yeah, so Philippines had really nice water like that, and they also had some beautiful, healthy coral,
Nice.
which was, I didn't realize it at the time. I thought Thailand and some of those other places, they always say how good the coral life is there and how pristine it is, but it was nothing compared to Coron in the Philippines. Like, there's
Wow.
massive football field size of healthy coral.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was really nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely recommend going to Philippines and doing a bit of some boat tours and just diving around the place and experiencing the water there.
So sick. So you would dive off the boat, like he'd park it up,
Yeah,
and then you just
park it up. You pull up to a spot, and he'd say, we had a private boat, so we could stay as long as we want. They'd just wait for you.
yeah.
And sometimes he'd park up next to a small island. You just swim around that, see what was going on around there. And yeah, that was really different for me. That was my first in the Philippines. It was my first time seeing coral life.
Yeah.
In New Zealand, you don't really get that. It's more wavy beaches, which
yeah.
is really fun for body surfing and stuff like that. But this was just a different experience. The water's so warm.
Yeah.
You can just stay in there for as long as you want, and the coral marine life
Yeah.
wasn't anything I experienced before, so I
What
had a
was
lot of
some
fun with that.
What was some of the most impressive like fish or marine life that you saw?
I think probably the turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, just going out every day from our accommodation in Mobile, we'd swim out maybe 10, 15 meters, and there's that drop off.
Yeah.
And if you stayed out for long enough, maybe if you're lucky, like as soon as you got out, you'd see a turtle swim past.
Whoa.
But most times within like 15, 20 minutes, if you just chilled around the big drop off, you'd see some turtles swimming. And I don't know, just seeing it was really cool and just really made my day.
You should get a like a secondhand GoPro or something.
Yeah.
That
No,
would be pretty
Matt
sick.
had one. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have any videos
Yeah.
on me, but yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's so sick.
And yeah, another part of the Philippines as well, It's like a massive sardine ball.
Yeah,
And
that's right. You're saying,
in
yeah.
Mobile as well. It's I think one of two places in the world where the sardines all bunch up together and stay like that for the whole year.
Yeah.
And a lot of other places it's seasonal. But in
Right.
Mobile, you can go any time of the year and see. I don't even know how many there are, like tens of thousands of sardines all bunched up just 10 meters off the shore, and like you swim under them and they fully just blot out the sun. It's
Whoa.
crazy. Yeah, it's really
What do
cool.
they do when you get close to them? Do they just like move around you or something? Or?
They move around you or they just swim away, but there's so many.
Oh.
It's hard to explain, but
So
yeah.
are they in a ball like that because things are chasing them? Like, did
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
What
They
is?
I think just instinctively they just bunch up into a ball if they assume that there's predators close by,
Yeah.
which there are.
Did you see like what was going after them?
No, just kind of just bigger fish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
is it around there that they have whale sharks too?
yeah,
Eh?
yeah. They've got whale sharks there as well.
Yeah.
But I think the local town they've got some sort of agreement with the council, I guess, that to preserve like this massive sardine ball, you
Yeah.
can only catch fish with hand lines. There's no nets or anything,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So
Yeah.
I think definitely if you're ever in the Philippines, make the trip to Marble Island,
Yeah,
see
man.
this massive sardine ball because it's one of the few places in the world you can.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you or any of the guys do any fishing or spearfishing there? Because is it Maddie that's was it Matt?
Matt, yeah,
Yeah.
he does a lot of spearfishing back home.
Mm.
But no, we didn't have any of the gear, or
Yeah.
wasn't really,
Like
I don't think, too
feasible.
common or feasible to
True.
really do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we just did a lot of free diving, and in the Philippines as well. One of the sites we pulled up to was like an abandoned, or like a sunken like ship back from, I don't know, World War One or World War Two.
Yeah.
It was like an old Japanese boat that had sunk, and we just dived down and checked that out. It was really cool.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's sick. And what about the opposite end of the spectrum? You obviously went to Nepal.
Yep.
And you're up in the mountains at like 5,000 something meters.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you? Because you've done a bunch of the great walks back home, so you've
Yep.
been in the mountains before, but nothing close to
No.
5,000 meters. So how did that experience
Like
compare?
in New Zealand, like the tallest mountain, Mount Cook, I think, just over 3,000.
Yeah,
And in Nepal, the Himalayan ranges, the mountains get up to over 8,000. And it's pretty crazy being on one of the hikes we did, Madi Himal. The high camp that we stayed at was 3,000, around 3,000.
yeah,
And you really get a scale for things when you know you're at 3,000 and just across the ravine is another mountain that goes up for fucking God knows how long. And that you really get a perspective of how big the ranges and the mountains are. Eh?
yeah.
But it's awesome, and at that altitude as well, just walking. For every 1,000 meters above, it's 10% less oxygen. So at 3,000 meters, you get 30% less oxygen than sea level.
Yeah.
And walking at that height is a pretty unique experience. When you come back down, you really realize how easy it is to breathe,
just
breathe
to
again,
function,
just to function. Yeah.
The closest experience I've had to, I've told you about it, but we were in Chamonix and we caught the gondola up to like Aiguille de Midi or whatever it's called, and that's, you look over at Mont Blanc, but that's almost like 4,000 meters.
Yeah.
We got off the lift, so you ascend that, and it's like 8 minutes or something. You go, I don't know if it's quite sea level, but you ascend a few thousand meters in a matter of minutes. And then we got out, and then we're just walking around. Then we walked up a flight of stairs, and I had to like hold on to the railing at the top. I was like, "Oh man, what's going on?" And I had to, like, it clicked. Oh man, we're at altitude now.
Yeah, especially when you're ascending that quickly.
Yeah.
We had a few people like that as well on the Madi Himal walk that we did.
Yeah.
They just normally you break it up. You spend one night or 2 nights at increasing altitude, so you kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
But these couple of dudes just ascended kind of from sea level straight to 3,000 meters, and when they got to the hut, they were completely fucked. They were really getting headaches and dizziness, and it's real. The altitude sickness, it really hits you. Yeah, and the only way that you can avoid it really, or to get rid of the symptoms, is to go back down.
Right. You don't really adjust if you're already that bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you push really hard and get quite high, and then once you start feeling those symptoms, the only way to get rid of them is to go back down.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was the Annapurna circuit you guys did, right?
Yeah, we did Annapurna circuit as well, and
Yeah.
we did it over 10 days, and I think on average every day you'd go up between 400 meters to 800 meters.
Yeah.
So you're slowly acclimatizing. And at the past we got up to I think 5,400 meters.
Wow.
And yeah, when you're at that height, you don't take breathing for granted, eh?
Yeah. I enjoyed your posts about that circuit. Is it easy to find that video of you guys almost getting hit by rocks?
Yeah. I'll try to pull it up somewhere.
Have a look.
Hold
We
up.
can check this out. I'm just gonna double check things.
Yeah, haven't really been anywhere in New Zealand where you've had a real risk of rock fall like this, eh?
Oh no, it's just crazy how dangerous that is, because it's literally like bullets or whatever,
Yeah.
coming down the hill. When I saw that video you put up, it looks so sketchy.
Yeah.
And you're literally having to shelter behind a little wall to not get taken out.
Yeah. Somewhere around here. Should I give a bit of show an image for context first, maybe, and then I can show
Yeah. Set the scene.
set the scene, eh?
Oh, bro, that is steep.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I don't know if I'd seen it from that angle.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
really steep sections there, tiny little footpath, and in some areas, especially around corners, the footpath is kind of shoulder width. That's how narrow it is. And I was pretty sketched out. At some point, you look down like that's a long way. If I take a misstep here, I'm fucked.
You're sliding away.
Yeah, it's not quite great walk quality
Yeah.
compared to New Zealand.
Yeah.
But this part here was on the way to Lecho Lake, one of the highest lakes in the world, and it was a really windy day that day, and because it's so steep, the big boulders at the top, just a little bit of wind that can really send them flying. So they've got this barricade wall here, which I think is mainly to stop the slips, but in the video you'll find out it's also a good wall to hide behind when there's fucking huge boulders rolling out in front of you. That's how guide can't you die. This was when he kind of heard something and he straight away he's like, yeah, get behind the wall. So we all like, what's going on? Like, you see that boulder going down, bro? That was right in front of Remy.
Oh shit. Oh man.
We're lucky we caught this on camera, but yeah.
Oh, so you just happened to be videoing it?
Maddie was videoing at the back.
Yeah.
And then just
that was huge.
Bro, huge boulder sliding down, eh?
Fuck, man.
That one there was probably the closest.
That's insane. So that's Sristi there, right?
Nah, that's my there. Remy at the front.
Oh, okay.
And I think that second to last boulder was probably the closest. I was right behind him, so I saw it come flying in front of him.
Yeah.
If we were just walking on the trail normally,
man,
a bit further out from the wall, that definitely would have hit him.
Holy, bro.
Yeah.
Whoa, that was massive.
Yeah, bro.
Like, those are going fast too. Yeah. Like, that would do some damage.
Yeah, bro.
They could probably kill you, eh?
Definitely kill you, even if you had a helmet on.
Yeah,
the bigger ones would knock your head clean off, eh?
Yeah. Decapitate you.
It was crazy as well, because thankfully our guide he'd done the track quite a few times, and he was like aware of the... Stop this one.
The risk.
He was aware of the risk. And so when we came to these parts, he was aware, because it was windy, he was aware like what could happen.
Yeah.
But we also saw like other groups, no guides, just like a few people walking along here, like granted it wasn't as windy that day, but they're kind of like really nonchalantly just like strolling, like, man, like you really gotta be careful.
Yeah. Were there a few sections like that?
This was probably the worst of it.
Yeah.
This is on the Annapurna circuit. This is like a side excursion that you can do for 2 days to the lake. So maybe it's not as well maintained as the normal circuit.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely the worst part for it. Yeah.
Where does the Annapurna circuit go in relation to the actual mountain?
I'd have to pull up a map, but you kind of do a circuit around the Annapurna ranges.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like, I don't know, Mont Blanc or something like the Tour of Mont Blanc. You kind of go around.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that was an experience for sure.
Yeah,
And
man.
it was really windy this day as well. I don't know if I've got any.
Whoa,
Yeah,
bro, that is
that shows you
so
how steep it
steep.
is. Like,
So is
look how
that
narrow that path is. That's the wall that we hid behind.
whoa, that's just like a slip,
Yeah,
basically.
it's
That's just
literally
like
a
straight
slip.
scree.
Yeah, and this is all that there is stopping it.
Wow, bro.
But yeah, it's
Whoa, that puts it into context, eh?
really windy. Further down the track as well, we kind of rounded the corner, and huge gusts came through, and Sristi almost got blown off. Like luckily there was a bush that she could hold on to, and the rest of us were like sheltering behind this bush and like kind of holding on to it. Sristi's a bit smaller, so she she was really getting blown off. But Matt was like having so much fun. He's like leaning into the wind. He's like, bro, this is so fun. It's all good. Me and Sristi like holding on, like, bro, we're like actually getting blown off, eh? Yeah.
Did it kind of put it into perspective how vulnerable you can be in the outdoors?
For sure. And like you'd think if going through sections like this, you'd think they'd be, I don't know, maybe we just missed the signs, but they'd be a bit more like have a helmet or something like that.
Watch out, you could die there.
I know hiking in Slovenia, like on a way more tamer trails at the start of the track, it's like it's like highly recommended. There's signage everywhere, like you have to wear a helmet for this area.
Wow.
But like here, you didn't really see much signs for that. Thankfully, we had our guide who was aware of it. But yeah.
Did you get any really bad weather while you're on the circuit?
The first couple of days of the circuit, like a little bit cloud. Yeah, actually, it was quite cloudy. Didn't really see too much of the ranges. It was hidden behind the clouds. But at the end of our, maybe after 3 or 4 days of cloudy weather following the road, by the 5th day it really cleared up. Like I forgot what camp it was called, but went to bed got there in the evening, so couldn't really see anything, and then woke up the next morning, not a cloud in the sky, and you really saw the mountain ranges, and you're like, holy shit, this is what we came for, you know? Just mountains, huge mountains just surrounding you, and from then on we got really good weather after that. Luckily, this was really good weather as well, just really windy. But for most of it, I'd say we had good weather, thankfully, and got to take in the views.
There's a massive peak in the background in that photo. Eh?
Yeah. I think.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What was it like, the actual logistics of it, in terms of getting to the circuit, organising your ACOM and a guide, and like sussing out all that stuff?
Yeah, we got real lucky because Sristi is Nepalese, so she can speak the language. Her family, she's got a lot of family there, and Nepalese culture is kind of you know someone who knows someone that does this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So she kind of organised it all for us and ended up getting like real good deals as well, quite local rates, I think.
Yeah.
So for us, we just had to show up, and we just followed Sristi around and had the guide take us. So everything was organised for us at quite a cheap price. But I guess even showing up isn't as easy as you might think. The road and infrastructure in Nepal, I wouldn't say is the best. Probably some of the worst roads we've been on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was going to say, do you have any
I'll try pull up a video of Pokhara. So when you come into Nepal, the only international airport at the moment is Kathmandu.
Oh yeah.
And to get to Pokhara, which is the main town or city for the start of hiking around Annapurna, and just getting there was about 200 k's from Kathmandu. And it took us 10 hours.
Oh, that bus ride.
It took us 10 hours, and we were averaging 20 or 25 k's an hour throughout the whole bus ride.
We complain about NZ roads, you know. Why is it not freeways or motorways the whole way up and down the country? You know, it's only like, 2-lane roads, but then, hey, at least they're sealed.
Exactly right. I'll pull up a video now of what the roads were like in Nepal. And I don't know if the sound will pick up, but I think the music that they were playing as well was also really adding to the experience of what it was like. So this was...
Oh, bro, that lighting is sick.
This was the public bus that we caught. And this was maybe 8 hours into the trip. And we're kind of getting close to Pokhara, but bright neon bus lights, old dusty bus, and this was This is what it's like. Hopefully it shows how bouncy. But this is like really loud blasting music, real shit speakers, and bro, this is crazy, eh?
Was it like that's the whole time?
Pretty much, yeah.
Fuck.
For a lot of it.
Bro, that would be like mind numbing.
Yeah,
Were
man.
you like quite sore after that too? Like your back and all that?
Definitely lower back was hurting a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
the music wasn't playing the whole time, but kind of turned it on here, and then the foreigners at the back of the bus all kind of turned around and looked at each other and just started
Like,
cracking
what
up.
is
They're like,
this?
"What the fuck is going
Yeah,
on?"
yeah, yeah.
You
wouldn't be able to sleep on that too either, right?
Nah,
You're
nah.
getting thrown around that.
Nah, bro, you're awake those whole 12 hours.
That's hectic.
Um,
do you have any
I'll try to find a photo of the bus.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good idea. I was gonna say after you've done that, do you have any photos of like your ACOM and your food and stuff
Yeah.
that you ate on the Annapurna circuit?
Yeah. So this is the typical bus that you'd get in Nepal.
Oh, bro, it looks like a party bus.
Party bus, bro.
Damn, G.
Not in the flash but nice buses you get around the EU for sure.
Definitely not.
And up there is a goat.
Oh, wow. I did not notice that.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
It's
It's illegal now, but a few years ago people would climb onto the top of the bus and ride it as well.
Really?
So imagine on the video before, it's bumpy as fuck on the roads, and there's just a group of, I don't know how many people are just hanging on top. They've made that illegal, but they still put animals at the top there, goats and stuff.
Yeah.
On the inside of the bus, you get chickens as well. Sometimes if it's like a VIP goat, I guess they come into the inside.
VIP goat, this goes VIP.
Yeah, man, it's a real experience.
It is actually like a whole different world.
Yeah, a whole different world.
Like in the
man.
Western world, you would not even imagine that.
Nah, it's I think made traveling on the bus a lot easier around the EU because you know how bad it can really be.
Yeah. Do you have any photos of maybe what your ACOM and your food and stuff look like on the circuit? Was it Dal Bhat?
Dal Bhat Power 24 hour. That was the saying in Nepal, and they've got like shirts with that slogan.
Oh, it's actually
a thing. Yeah,
I thought maybe you guys like made it up.
No. It's an actual thing. It's like a.
And Dal Bhat is like, could you explain what it is? It's like a curry, bread.
Yep.
What else you got?
I'll quickly hold on. Try find a photo for it.
Yeah.
But that was the pretty interesting thing about these guest houses. Oh, here we go. About the guest houses as well. They'd have like a 4-page menu of things that you could order.
Yeah.
And there would be like pizzas on there, pasta, bro. Like
wow.
They
actually had that stuff.
They actually had that stuff. Obviously, like a little bit Nepalese version.
Yeah.
Like Nepalese version of spag bowl or something like that. But it was crazy what you could order.
Yeah.
And every guest house had really similar menus, but they'd all add their little twist to it.
Yeah.
But with even such a big menu, you'd think you wouldn't get sick of the food. But over 10 days, at the first it was kind of a novelty, like getting to the first guest house. Oh, yo, cracker, what is this? We should order this. But by like the 8th or 9th day, you don't even need to look at the menu anymore. It's like, so I know exactly what's on it.
Yeah.
And there's only one thing I'm getting for dinner, and it's Dal Bhat.
Yeah.
So this is Dal Bhat.
Oh, see, that looks good. But I guess, fries as well.
Yeah, right. Like
damn,
fries, bro, pasta.
This is the combo.
There's probably a pizza in the background as well.
What?
But this is a typical Dal Bhat. So they eat this everywhere in Nepal. And this is what we get at the guest house because you know it's safe.
Yeah.
Each place does it differently as well, so it's not the exact same flavors.
Yeah. Is it vegetarian or is it meat?
You can choose either or.
Yeah.
We typically got the vegetarian option, but you get
like it's a bit safer.
Yeah. You get you get rice. You always have rice, and then I forgot what this is called. It's kind of like a sambal. It's like a really spicy chili paste.
Yeah.
Little bit of veg.
Yeah, 2 carrots there.
2 carrots, yeah. And this is the dal, like a lentil soup.
Yeah.
Always have that. I think you always get like a fried veggie as well. This is the curry. And then depending where you go, sometimes you get chips or some other random stuff. But the best thing about it is that it's free refills.
Oh,
so
true.
they always prepare like heaps of it. So once you finish this, you can go back and ask, or typically they'd stand by you and see how you're going, and then
Yeah.
maybe you get halfway through and they'd already come and top up your plate, and it was
Well,
you
that's
just
not
pay like one
bad,
price
man.
and you can
How,
get
how
as much
much
as you
does
want.
something like that cost, you reckon? Like a few dollars or
Can't
something?
remember off the top of my head, but yeah, a few dollars. The higher up you go in each guest house, the harder it is to get stuff brought there. So the price
Oh,
goes up
yeah.
as you go higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was never too unreasonable.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the best thing about it was the free refills. Like
Man.
the Nepalese hospitality, really something else. They it was crack up. Like they'd come next to you and be like, "Oh yeah, how's the food? What's your favorite? Like how's this one?"
Mm.
Most of the time, like it is really good, and say, "Oh, yeah, this is me." And, oh, cool. And then to
Yeah.
go out to the kitchen and bring out the massive bowl and scoop you some more.
That means you want
Yeah,
some more.
yeah. And by like the third or fourth day, when they're portioning it up, you had to go up to them and be like, "Yeah, I just want a little bit of everything. I just want like a little
Set
bit."
the
Just like,
expectations.
like I just want a little bit, just like little bit, and
Yeah.
then if you want more, you can always go back after.
Yeah.
But when we first started, like the portions were so big, it was such a mess to get through it all. But
Yeah.
it was great. Like when you're hiking, it was, I guess, something you look forward to. Like, and it was cool that each place did it differently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and that everywhere did it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you talk about Sristi's village a little bit? That
Yeah.
was quite cool how you went there. Like the stories of her village.
Bringing up
sound
some
so
photos as
cool.
well. But from Pokera, the main touristic hub for
Yeah.
hiking, it's about an hour or two bus ride from there.
Oh, that's not too
It's
bad.
actually it's not too far from the main tourist
I
hub,
thought
but
you were gonna say it's like 10 hours from there. or
no,
something.
but hold on, just to find a photo. But even being so close, there's not really any reason to go there as a
Yeah.
tourist.
It's
So
not like a destination. or
no,
anything, yeah.
there isn't really there's no temple or anything there. It's just a village where the locals live. So
Yeah.
not much reason to go there. So they never really see any locals.
Yeah.
So when we were there, we were kind of the talk of the town sort of thing. And because it's so small, one person hears about you, they go talk.
Yeah.
And by the following day, we had random people from the village just showing up at where we were staying, and it's like knocking on the door, like, "Oh, we heard some like foreigners have come. Like, we are they? Like, we want to come see
Yeah.
them. We want to come meet them." But they were all so friendly.
Yeah. Do you think many people from a village would have really ever ventured out of a village, or would they just mostly kind of stay there, do you think?
Yeah, a lot of them would have mostly just stayed there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So seeing foreigners was a bit of a novelty.
Yeah.
So it's
No, that's not good. There's no rush.
haven't pinpointed a photo that shows the village too well yet.
It's the handy thing. We can just take these parts out if we need to. Like, there's no rush to find it.
Oh, yeah, I think this shows it pretty well. Actually, no, I've got an aerial view of the village. Actually,
Oh, nice.
climbed one of the.
What do you think
Climb
was
one
the
of the peaks.
population? It was like a few hundred people, a few thousand people.
Maybe a couple thousand.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
Oh, damn.
It's a bit bigger than you expect.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
expected.
kind of sitting in a bit of a valley there.
Yeah, sitting in a valley. This is like a little, I guess in Nepal it'd be a little hill.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe 800 meters up to this peak next to the village. And that's the entirety of the village there, really.
Wow.
Sristi's family's house is, I think, this one here.
Yeah.
So a lot of our routine when we were chilling in the village was just waiting for the sun to go down because it was way too hot in the day. And then
Oh,
about
was
4 or
it?
5 o'clock,
Yeah.
once the sun was setting, we'd walk down through here, and this road eventually leads to a massive river.
Oh,
Through
yeah.
here.
Oh, that's it there. Yeah.
I think it's called the Mardi. The trees are kind of blocking it, but we'd come down here for a swim every day, wash off
Whoa.
the sweat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool.
What kind of temperatures? That's so surprising that it was that hot.
Yeah, because we were there for like 2.5 months when we first got there. It was a lot more bearable,
Yeah.
like maybe high 20s.
Yeah. In the village for 2.5 months.
In total, we were there for 2.5 months. In the village, maybe a month and a half, 2 months.
Wow, that's a decent amount of
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
man.
So
Damn.
got pretty friendly with the locals and in our routine.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll try. I'll find a photo of actually closer. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
that's all right.
of us actually down there, so you can see what it's like.
Yeah, I guess when you hear Nepal, you just think of snow-capped, freezing cold mountains.
Yeah, but that's just a very very
It's just
small
the
part of it.
Himalayas. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's so
So
cool.
a lot of the villages more like this. Oh yeah, these are a good few photos to scroll through.
Yeah. Oh wow, that looks like quite a nice house.
Yeah,
Is it like a newer one? Would you say?
we're really lucky. Like with Sristi's family, they had just built this place. So
Oh,
when we
okay.
got there, it was it had only been done for maybe a month, and
Oh, really?
the outside garden was still, all the outside still needed work. So we helped out a little bit with the garden.
Yeah.
But this is pretty typical. Like this is the road or
Yeah.
footpath to the place, just cutting through the fields. This is all corn, or depends on what time of the season it is, but corn is growing here. They just planted it,
Yeah.
and
Whoa.
this is another. This is where this is where we were for the aerial view I was showing
Oh,
before.
yeah.
But this is pretty classic. Like
It's like a thatch roof.
yeah, like a massive straw hut that
Oh.
they just pile it with more straw, and then when they need more feed, they just rip it off and give it to the
Oh, wow.
buffaloes.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got, or a lot of families have buffaloes, and they take them down to the river every day to feed them, and then they bring them back in the afternoon, and then a lot of them would live under these little thatch huts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because cows are seen as gods in Nepal.
Yeah.
So they don't really have those
Mm-hmm.
as farm animals, but
Yeah.
everyone has like buffalo. So um, in the morning, Sristi's family didn't have a buffalo, so we'd always go over to the neighbor and they'd go get some fresh buffalo milk, and that
Wow.
was pretty fun.
How does that make you reflect on living in a place like this versus living in, I don't know, Tokyo or London? Or how does that make you think about, I don't know, the human condition versus like here versus being in a city like that?
There's no big pack and save to head down to.
Yeah.
There's like a small little general store, but in most of the time, you're really living off your garden, and which means you grow what's in season.
Yeah.
And then for milk and veggies and stuff like that, it's kind of just what you can grow and what you have, really. So definitely a big eye opener.
Yeah.
You can go to the shop and get small little things, but yeah, it's not like in the first world developed Western countries where you can just pop down to the shop and you can get fucking anything.
Yeah. What would you say is the general vibe of the people? Are people wanting to get out of the village? Are they satisfied? Are they like, what's the general vibe? Would you say?
It's quite mixed, eh? Like kind of quite similar to New Zealand or any country, really.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have people that just stay there for their whole lives, and then you've got the other side of the spectrum, where the family really push and value the kids' education so that they can leave the village and get work overseas and earn a lot more and be able to send some money back. Like Sristi's family is from this tiny village, and now and they ended up getting really pushed for education, going to university and in the city, and then after that traveling and working in the UK and New Zealand and sending money back home. So there's definitely families where they're pushing for a better life for the kids, but then there's also the other end of the spectrum where there isn't that push from the family, and people just kind of stay in the village, and definitely a lot harder for these guys to leave the village and get more work elsewhere.
Yeah. Because you could imagine that with the big cities being so attractive economically or financially that
Yeah.
these villages could dwindle away because new generations come through and they're like, well, I don't
Yeah.
want to be here. I want to go to the big city where it's more exciting and
Yeah.
there's more money and all of that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
But even that is quite hard for some of them. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's real eye opener.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll just scroll through a few more of these. So this is the main road through the village.
Oh, it's not tar sealed. I thought it was sealed for a second. Is that
No,
like gravel?
this one is sealed.
Oh,
just
that is
not
sealed?
not to Western standards.
Yeah, true.
Sristi's family's place is just off this road here,
Yeah.
and then up here it's called the bazaar, which is like the center.
Yeah.
With a few shops. Then over here there's like a little pool house. They've got like one pool table,
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
a lot of the guys.
Did you challenge some of the locals?
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
they were fucking good, man.
Were
Like,
they? Yeah.
these guys are like going here every day after work,
Yeah.
during work.
Yeah.
So they're playing a lot. They're really
Yeah.
good. That was really fun thing to do. Like just come down in the day and see who's down there and have a
Yeah.
couple of games of pool. And then up here was the general store. We got quite unlucky with the weather while we were staying in the village. Like one thing that is quite common there is there's a lot of forest fires.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure how intentional they are. They must be intentional. I'm not sure
Yeah.
why they're really lighting them on fire, but there'll be some nights we'll stand out on the balcony and pretty much around the whole place in each mountain range should be a fire in each range, and it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
And
so it just fill the village with smoke?
it'd fill the village and the mountain ranges with smoke. So some days you really couldn't see
wow.
far. Like this mountain range here.
Yeah.
There'd be some days where you couldn't even see that. Like it
So
was
much
just filled with smoke and
Yeah.
smog,
Yeah.
which was a bit sad. And we were
Yeah.
going. They were going through a drought while we were there. So everything was really dry, and there were just so many fires.
Yeah.
But when we went back, when we were about to leave, it was just starting to get into monsoon season, so there was a bit more rain settling the dust, which was nice, and everything was turning a little bit more green.
Yeah.
But then that's kind of the nice period. Then when the monsoon hits, like it's so destructive. It's so crazy.
It's like almost just opposite ends of the spectrum.
Literally,
forest fires to then like floods.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the roading infrastructure, for example. A lot of because it's so mountainous, all the roads are built on the side of a cliff, and where there's cliffs, there's slips, and especially when the monsoon rolls in, wipes out so much of the roads out there, just in a constant state of repair.
I was going to say, think about when there's a slip in New Zealand, how long it takes to repair the road. Some of them are just like they just write them off. Like, okay, we're not going to fix it.
Yeah, and same thing here.
Yeah.
This is just the village. It's us walking through, and I think we're going down to the family banana plantation there.
Whoa, that's cool.
They planted a lot of banana trees on some land closer to the river.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate bananas.
Oh, that's right.
And so does Maddie. But it was really fun going down when the banana bowl was running low, and we'd just go down to the plantation and hack a tree away and get like a whole bunch and bring it back home. That was really fun.
That was so cool.
I didn't realize that the banana tree, like, it's kind of a one-off once you've got that. Once you've got your bunch of bananas,
single use.
Yeah, it's literally single use,
Really?
like a huge, massive banana tree. With once you see your right bunch of bananas on, you just take the whole thing down, and then from there it grows
I was going
again.
to say they grow really quickly.
I'm not sure how quickly they grow, but I thought you just went up there and harvested the bunch from
an apple tree or something.
Yeah. Like you just take the bunch off, and then more comes. But now you just take the whole tree down.
Oh, fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah. See if there's any other one.
I didn't realize that you spent so long there. That's cool, man. You would have really got a solid insight into what it's like to live there, right?
Yeah.
You're not there for 4 days and then you're out. You actually have like a solid amount of time to adjust to it.
Yeah, and even it wasn't 2 months in Pokera where all the tourists were. It was 2 months in a remote village. So
yeah.
we really get to experience the local life. And thankfully, Sristi's mum had come over as well from New Zealand.
Nice.
So she ended up providing and cooking meals for us every day. So
Whoa.
we got really
Got
lucky.
looked after.
Yeah, like not an experience too many people have when they come to Nepal. I think generally you'd stay in the main Pukada village,
Yeah.
which is completely different. That we really got to live like a local, and it's actually one of the few countries where we were able to stay for a couple months.
Yeah.
And actually get into a bit of a routine.
Yeah.
Because when you're traveling, what we were doing before that was going to a place, staying for 3 or 4 days, and then moving to the next town.
Yeah.
And you never really developed a routine
Yeah.
like back at home. But staying with her family for 2 months really developed into a routine of what you do every day. And after traveling for a while, that was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Nice to get back into.
Yeah. A little bit of consistency again.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And this is the little. This is another cool one.
Oh wow, that is cool, man.
This is about 20 minutes walk from Sristi's place. And this is the Māori River that would go down and swim in every day. These are the locals bringing their buffalo back in the afternoons.
Yeah.
So the buffalo would just graze here during the day. There'd always be someone watching them so that they wouldn't run away.
Yeah.
And then in the evening they'd bring them back here.
Wow.
So cool.
It's just a totally different lifestyle.
Totally different lifestyle.
And you can see how connected they are to the land.
Yeah.
Because like the land is everything.
Yeah, genuinely. And they're so dependent on the weather.
Yeah.
If their crops will grow, like the corn that we planted it quite late because the house had just been built, so we had to plant the corn quite late, and there was a massive drought, so we were really worried that they wouldn't have anything for the
germinate. Or
to germinate and have corn for the next few months for grandparents, which is not something you really ever think about.
Like in the Western world, we're so disconnected from the weather.
Yeah.
We might check it in the morning to see if we need to wear a rain jacket to work or something.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's like as far as it goes.
Yeah, well, like the capsicums out of season, they're fucking $4 each, but you can still get them.
Yeah,
you can still
exactly.
pay a premium and get them. But here, it's like if the weather doesn't come through and the crops don't grow, like they're pretty fucked.
Yeah.
It's so different.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe changing tack a little bit, still sticking with the outdoor thing.
Yeah.
You're quite into your snowboarding, and you did quite a lot of it in Japan. So could we maybe talk about your experience in Japan?
Yeah.
In the snow.
That was another country we ended up staying a bit longer time in as well.
Yeah.
Japan and Nepal. So Japan, we stayed in Niseko for just over a month. And then after that, we ended up staying another 2 weeks in another town, Furano, which is known for their snow as well.
Are those both on that island?
Yeah, they're both in Hokkaido, so the northern island of Japan. But me, Matt, and Matty, we all went to Hokkaido because we were all quite into skiing and snowboarding.
Yeah.
That's when the group split up a bit. Sristi went to Korea because she wasn't into the snow, so the three of us went to Niseko, spend a whole month there, and that was really fun.
And the snow is one of those things, if you don't like it, it's the worst place to be.
Yeah.
It's cold, you get wet, you like can't even snowboard, you just sit in a cafe all day or something.
We were lucky as well, like the lodge that we stayed at, even on off days when the weather wasn't great, there was still the massive common area, the bar, pool table, so you could still get up to stuff during the day when the snow wasn't on.
Yeah.
But we actually experienced like kind of a bit of a slump in Furano actually. When we went there, it wasn't the best season and a lot of the terrain was closed off. There were massive slab slips because the weather kept fluctuating.
Yeah.
So a lot of the area was closed off. And for the 2 weeks we were there, we maybe got like 3 days of like a little bit of snow.
Yeah.
So the place that we stayed at as well didn't have that much to do.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a change, and that was a little bit boring. Took a couple of weeks, like just staying in a tiny. Luckily, we just had a private room for the three of us.
Yeah.
And then in the day, like if the snow wasn't on, which was quite common, the town was so small that you can kind of walk around it in 1 or 2 days and you know
Yeah.
what's going on. So we kind of sit in the cafe and just
Try and pass the
try and
time
pass the
somehow.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there's conditions are shit, you don't really want to go out and pay um, for like a shit day. It just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
So Matt was good, and he had his laptop, so he could kind of chip away at things that he needed to do.
Oh,
But me
nice.
and Matty, that was kind of a turning point for me and Matty, where we kind of were just on our phones for a lot of the time, and that was quite boring.
Yeah.
And then after that, me and Matty in Osaka, we went there after. We're like, oh yeah, sweet, let's get some laptops. So in our downtime, we are not just on our phones scrolling through shit. We can, I don't know, at least play a few games or something just to pass the time.
Do something that's not just like mind numbing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like it feels like a good way of spending the time, not
Yeah.
just like scrolling.
Yeah. Like well, you can only do so much on the phone. Having a laptop and bigger screen, and yeah, you can do a little bit more.
Yeah, those snow days that you did get, you're talking to me earlier today about the powder.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that a little bit? What it's like snowboarding in powder that's super deep?
Yes. So Japan gets some of the best powder snow in the world. It doesn't have steep slopes like in America or Europe. Nothing too steep, but they get really, really good powder.
Yeah.
Especially in Hokkaido, I think kind of known as the powder mecca of the world. And when we first got there, the season wasn't amazing, but a few days before we got to Niseko, it ended up dumping like over a meter in the last.
That's insane.
In the last couple of days.
Much.
And then in Ruapehu, bro, it's like a whole season's worth in 3 days.
Yeah.
In Japan, so that was pretty crazy, and I'd never really ridden powder before. So that was a real new experience for me. I'm not sure what it's like on skis, but I found riding on snowboard, riding on more firmer pack snow compared to powder was real different.
Yeah.
So that took a while getting used to, and still not too used to that.
And you got stuck a couple of times.
Got stuck a lot of times. That was pretty tiring. So when we first got to Japan, lack of fitness, never rode in powder. And me and Maddie went out for the first day, and I just didn't know that you had to have enough speed to really before sinking in. So there was just a run between the trees, didn't have enough speed, got stuck, can't push yourself up because there's like a meter of snow that you can't push yourself off. You push it and you just sink down. So had to unstrap the board, which was a mission in itself, and climb your way out. And getting stuck once or twice, you're fucked for the whole day. Like you're exhausted, especially when you've just been eating for the last 6 months and not doing too much physical activity
or anything.
No training. And then there was a kind of like a scary incident when I was telling you before, and it was just off the main track. Like the track was right, I could see the track was right above me, but I'd fallen off a bank, and luckily I was skiing with Maddie, so I was able to call him and tell him where I was. But while I was waiting for him, I tried climbing back up the bank, and it was pretty much impossible. I couldn't go further down the valley because there was a river and there was just waist deep snow, so I couldn't get out that way. And then climbing like maybe a meter back up the bank, every time you took a step, you'd sink back to the same level that you were stepping at. And after trying for like 10, 15 minutes and not getting anywhere, it's kind of a bit worrying, like, oh, fuck, am I actually going to get out of this? Eventually I managed to step on the branch of a tree and leverage myself up just enough off onto the main track where I could kind of pull myself back up again. But after that, definitely made me a bit more aware of skiing with someone else, and especially going off piste and getting stuck, and no one else knows you're there.
That's like a ski resort too. It's not like backcountry.
No, there's backcountry as well, but this was just off the main track, just after a massive snow dump. So yeah.
Makes you think, hey, if you got caught in an avalanche or something, how impossible it could be just to dig yourself out.
We all did a bit of avalanche training before going over.
Oh, nice.
Because we knew about the risks there, but yeah, this was just off the main track.
Wow.
I guess for a first time like me, it wasn't wasn't too aware just off the main track it'd be so hard to get back up.
Well,
but
if you're in New Zealand, that wouldn't even cross your mind. Like,
No.
the powder would never be deep enough for you to think
Nah,
about
the
not
pa-
being able to get back to the track.
yeah,
or
the
something.
powder is never deep enough, but the avalanche risk in New Zealand is, I'd say, probably higher than in Japan
Yeah.
because the snowpack is so wind blown.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a lot
true.
windier, and
Yeah.
the slopes are a little bit steeper, so the
Yeah.
risk of avalanche is actually, I'd say, probably higher than in
Yeah.
Japan. So that's why there's so much avalanche awareness, and we did a course
True.
there.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
But yeah,
I didn't
definitely
know
something to
that.
be aware of, and when you're going out, especially to backcountry, making sure you have all the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When people go traveling, you often hear about people getting quite sick. Like, I don't know, was it Delhi belly and all
Delhi
that
belly,
kind of
Bali
stuff?
belly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've told me maybe one or two instances of getting particularly sick. So
Yeah.
I thought it'd be kind of funny to talk about those.
Yeah.
Could you talk about
You really want me to like tell everyone about one of the lowest points of my life?
Hey, that's the question. Yeah. What's the most sick that you've been since you've been traveling?
Yeah. There's definitely a key moment of where I was most sick.
Yeah.
In Indonesia, we went to like a really small little village, organized by Matt's brother, Kevin, and his girlfriend Emily. So we met up with him in Indo, and he'd organized like this eco jungle experience for us. And to get there, it was a 9-hour really crazy van ride to this really remote village, and the van ride itself was, I'll diverge a bit. The van ride itself was probably the most hectic car ride I've ever had in my life.
Like hectic as in the traffic or sketchiness?
Sketchiness.
Yeah.
So we were like in a 8-seater like Toyota van, and the roads that we were driving were really windy, hilly roads. And one of the days, where it had fogged out the road, so you could only see like one car ahead of us.
Yeah.
And our driver was fucking crazy. Like, or even like on the blind corner, you can only see one car ahead of us. He'd still be trying to overtake. So it was just 9 hours of madness. It really prepped us for the driving in Vietnam and the Philippines.
Yeah.
Um,
That is so stress inducing. Like, your average heart rate the whole time would be so high. So you'd finish that drive and you'd be so wrecked.
We'd already had a massive travel day, so we were pretty exhausted. And I think anywhere else, all of us would have slept on the car. But the way that this guy was driving, we just had so much adrenaline that it was almost like every time that he overtook, it's like, am I going to crash and are we going to fucking die?
Is this
like,
the end of me here? Yeah.
Like it was crazy. Yeah. But anyway, going back to the story.
Yeah.
I either got food poisoning, but I think I got like some sort of stomach bug or something like that. And then the first day of our Sumatran jungle hike, woke up feeling pretty dusty, like, oh yeah. Not feeling too good. A little bit of a headache, but I just thought maybe it's the long travel days we'd done the days prior. So, no, maybe once I start walking, get a little bit of fresh air, I'd start, getting better again. But yep, that didn't happen. So as we started walking, slowly started deteriorating, and then I think that day we maybe walked 3 hours. So pretty short.
Yeah.
Pretty short walk, but really started fucking out, and we got to this campsite, which is basically just somewhere that was flat in the middle of the jungle that we could set some tents up in.
Yeah.
And once the tent was set up, I kind of felt real shit and just slept in the tent while everyone did a bit of an explore. My belly was really starting to act up at that point, and there's no set toilets. And
what's the temperature and humidity and stuff like that?
Temperature and humidity, like, it wasn't actually too bad, maybe 20, 25 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
90% humidity.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the least of my worries at that point.
Yeah. Just wondering how uncomfortable
it
already was, and then you get sick as well.
Yeah. So the environment itself was already uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Added to my loose bowels. It was fucked out. Like, I'd go out maybe every half an hour if it was good, and just have to go out and find bash my way through the bush and find a spot that I hadn't shit in yet. Like walk that way. I was like, I think I've shat over there, so I'll go over here. And I didn't even know how there was still stuff coming out. But I think during the day I was like maybe seven or eight runs into the jungle, and eventually I was like, oh no, fuck this. I'll have some like anti-diarrhea pills.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it's called, but had some of those, and was able to sleep at night for maybe 3-4 hours, and all of a sudden I woke up maybe around midnight or 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
With a real sore stomach, and I think like all the shit had just built up, and like it just backed itself up. Like to this,
put a plug down there,
Yeah,
but
bro.
it still kept building up.
I after that I never took those again. Like it was easier to just let it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like woke up at 1, the shit had built up, and I was just really busting to go.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I was as far away as possible from the tent door.
Fuck.
So I'm crawling over Sristi and Maddie. It was the three of us sharing a tent. Crawling over Sristi and Maddie, unzipping the tent as fast as possible, and I've got half my body out the door, and that's when I felt it coming, like a little fart coming through. I was like, oh fuck, like something's coming. So I'm like, I had Tivas, so I was trying to do them up as quickly as possible,
Yeah.
like putting my feet into them, but like I was so
It wasn't happening.
It wasn't happening. I was so fucked, like trying to do the straps up, and then just couldn't make it in time. Like this fart came out, but as soon as it came out, I just knew that it wasn't a fart. Like
Yeah.
it was.
You can't fart when you have diarrhea.
No, exactly. And like my muscles had already been so used from like the 7 or 8 shits I'd taken earlier in the day that I couldn't hold it in.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Sristi later. She's like, "Yeah, I woke up when you were getting out of the tent, and when I woke up, I could just smell something foul, and I thought you just farted." But as I was getting out, pretty much farted, I was like, oh, "Fuck!" Like I'm pretty sure that wasn't just a fart.
Yeah.
And put my TVs back on, put on my head torch, like still running and bush bashing through the jungle, trying to remember if I'd shat there already or not. And then eventually find the spot, pulled my pants down, looked down, and yeah, sure enough, it wasn't just a fart. And at that, there's no lower point in life pulling your pants down, looking down, and confirming
As a fully grown adult,
confirming that you've shit yourself. So fuck, pulled my pants down, pretty defeated, did the deed. At that point, I'm ashamed to say I fucking hate littering, but I was not taking those jocks back with me, so I donated them to the bush.
Yeah, they're compostable, surely.
Bro, they're compostable, hopefully, but long enough they'll compost. But walking back, at this point I'd stripped like through the jocks way. My pants had a bit of leakage on them as well, so I'm walking back into the tent, fucking feeling sorry for myself. We're only wearing a shirt, and my bag's outside the tent, so I'm really defeated, just going through that, unzipping shit, trying to find some clean stuff, cleaning myself up, and then I hear the tent unzip, and Sristi like pops her head out, and she's like,
"You're there butt ass
I'm
naked."
I'm there butt ass naked with like a shirt on, and she's like, are you alright? I just look at her like, I fucking shat myself. So what? I fucking shat myself. And then at this point, Maddie's woken up as well, and I hear him ask like, "Oh, what did Aidan say?" And Sristi like turns over, and she's like, "Aidan shat himself." Maddie just starts cracking up. Like I don't blame him. If it was him, I would have just absolutely
what
lost
else are
it.
you gonna do?
And like in between laughing, he's just like, "Oh, bro, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Fuck, bro, don't even worry about it." Like there's no lower point than this. And
oh shit.
He's cracking up, and eventually like clean myself up, find some fresh clothes, and go back inside the tent, and just sitting there like really feeling sorry for myself, and the guys there trying to like, amp up the morale, and Tristan's like, "No, maybe tomorrow you'll be all good." And at this point I'm just like, "Nah, this is fucked. I'm walking back out tomorrow." Tristan's like, no, like tomorrow you might feel all good. You'll be sweet. You might feel a bit better. I'm like, I fucking shat myself. I'm fucking walking out. I don't want any more of this. I'm fucking going home. And then that was that really. Like the next morning, woke up, sure enough, not feeling that much better, and kind of did the walk of shame back home. One of the guides came back, so Me, Sristi, and the guide, we walked back out the
Oh,
next.
Sristi left.
Sristi left as well. And,
That's nice of her.
Yeah. So I don't want to leave you by yourselves. So she came back out as well. So walked back out for 2 hours. Real shit. Literally.
Yeah, real
And,
shitty situation.
Went back to the guide's house and kind of recovered there for 2 to 3 days. Like being sick on holiday is shit. Being sick on holiday in a less developed country is even worse.
Yeah.
They did have some meds for me, but yeah, it was just
It's still not comfortable, eh?
it's still not
It's
comfortable.
not like being sick at home. Like that still sucks, but at least you have all your comforts.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that was the sickest I've been.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's my shit story.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny shit story. See, in hindsight, it's
in
funny,
hindsight, it's funny. I've got a
yeah,
fucking great story to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the time, it wasn't fun. But got a good story out of it. It's really set the bar low for me, you know.
Exactly, your baseline now, man.
It's set the baseline, bro.
Yeah,
If I haven't
yeah.
shit myself, then like it's not
doing
that
fucking
bad,
great.
really, is it?
Yeah, lost all your phone, your wallet, blah, blah,
Yeah.
shit
Mate,
myself.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Might be a good segue actually into what do you think you've learned about yourself while you've been traveling?
Learned a lot when I left. When I was leaving New Zealand, I was kind of ready to do a bit of exploring, ready to move out of the place, and was really expecting to not come back for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Or a few years. I thought I'd like find a job. I thought I was going to turn into a city person because being in Whakatane is like, oh, this is so fucking boring. Like
Nothing to fucking do here.
I'm going to go to the city and there's going to be so much to do. Like it's going to be so much better. There's going to be public transport.
Yeah.
And I thought like I'd have like some sort of epiphany of like what I was going to do with work, where I was going to live, but
like it's going to change you.
Yeah,
I'm going to find myself when I leave here.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I'm going to travel and it's going to change my life, which it has, but not in the epiphany never came.
Yeah.
It was after traveling through the Asian cities, where it's like, oh, maybe I'm actually not so much of a city person, and really started to appreciate New Zealand and Whakatane for what it was.
Yeah.
So there was that as well, and still waiting for that epiphany to happen.
Yeah. It's gonna come though. It's gonna come.
We've like traveled over 20 countries now, and the list of places where I would actually live in is maybe 1 or 2 places long. Like, it really made me realize how special it was to live in New Zealand, taking it for granted. So there was that as well, and all the experiences I had as well, shitting myself, for example. It's really given me a perspective of things, of like how low you can really feel, how other people are living, especially in third world countries as well, like seeing what it's like for them. And that changed me a lot. And as you already know, like heading back to New Zealand in March next year, and actually quite happy to be going back. Like I never thought I would be saying that when I first started. I remember talking to my boss at work. He's saying, eventually you get sick of it within by a year. Like he'd done a year's travel, and by the end of it, he was saying he was ready to come home. And I was like, whatever, bro. Like,
I'm different, bro. I'm different.
I'm built different. I'm not fucking coming back for a couple of years, man. But I really see what it was meaning now. New Zealand's so special, and that really changed. The traveling has really changed my perspective on that. Having all these highs and all these, I wouldn't call them lows. Just like
learnings.
Learnings of like what it's like having when you shit yourself in the jungle, for example, or how some people are really roughing it out in these more developing countries. And like being in these bigger cities, like a lot of the time, like a lot of your salary is going straight to rent, for
live.
Example, to live.
Made
me appreciate like how my living to salary ratio in New Zealand was actually really, really good. So appreciating things like that a lot more.
And it's quite a unique perspective you're getting from, like, just think about the travel we've done, which is just being like Europe and the States and stuff like that, versus going to countries that are even more third world.
Yeah.
The learnings that you're getting from seeing people who aren't as fortunate
Yeah.
to just be lucky enough to be born in New Zealand.
Exactly.
Like, that
yeah.
is just luck.
You take it for a privilege, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like somewhere like Whakatane, you know, when you're turning 18, you're like, oh, fuck this place, man. Like, I like the beach and stuff, but no, I need to get out.
Yeah,
You just
right,
have
exactly.
this desire to get out, and you think that getting out is the solution.
Yep.
I'm going to find myself. And then you're in this other country and you realize, oh, I'm still just me. I just happen to be in Paris, or I just happen to be in Bali or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly. But I think even more so, like a lot of people that go traveling, they don't push their boundaries too much. They do what they're comfortable with back at home.
Keep it safe.
So keep it safe. And you're never going to learn too much from that, from keeping it safe and always being within these boundaries that you're comfortable with. So people that go and travel expecting some sort of life-changing experience when they're really just doing the exact same thing
on the Amalfi Coast in Italy.
doing the exact same thing that they'd be doing at home. Like you're not going to learn too much from that. And which is why I'm real grateful about traveling around Asia first, doing a lot of things I wouldn't do back home. And like when you're traveling, when someone asks you to do something, you don't ask yourself why you should do it. You should ask yourself, why shouldn't I do it?
True.
And that opens yourself up to so much more opportunities. Like when you're traveling and something comes up, and normally back at home you'd probably be a little bit skeptical. But now you're on holiday and you're like, well, I don't really have any excuse not to do it. So you really go out and do things you're not used to. Like I think I was telling you before, when we first started traveling, like just being on a scooter was like a crack up experience on the back of it. Being like, whoa, that was so hectic being on the back of a grab, and then slowly progressing and getting riding a scooter for the first time, and then eventually going to Vietnam and Thailand and renting a scooter and doing like 300k like loop, just small little things like that you would never do at home, and just being open to those sort of opportunities. I met a lot of people in Southeast Asia, like asking us like how was it renting a scooter, because they didn't, which is fair enough, honestly. How dangerous it was that and they were a bit apprehensive to hiring one. And in those sort of countries, like I think it's you see so much less if you don't hire a scooter and explore for yourself. And once you get the hang of it, luckily we were really lucky and didn't have any accidents. But yeah, like just things like that, like being open, and it's a bit more risky, but accepting that risk and pushing your boundaries a little bit.
I was going to say that makes me think about traveling with different personalities as well. So like when I go traveling with like Caleb, how we did that thing in Scotland, you know, he's the first one to want to go for a cold water swim. Like I like I don't know if I'd say like maybe I would, but then when you're with him or with
cold water swims are the best, man.
So like
what you mean.
in Edinburgh, when we went up for Christmas last year, we did a Christmas Day swim, and that's the coldest swim I've ever. It was fucking painful, if I'm honest with you. But when you
feel so good,
traveling with people who are more outgoing or whatever than you are, then it like pushes you out of your comfort zone.
And
as well.
That's why traveling with 3 others is so great. Like we all have different personality types. Matt was really good for exactly what you're saying. Like he'd always be a bit more adventurous and a bit more willing to do something that I would be like a bit risk adverse to, but maybe not. But having him there was great. Like fitting 4 people on a scooter at the time, I was like, oh no, like that, bro, that's pretty dangerous to say. But like, no, like, and a lot of situations like that, we'd be like, oh sweet, let's do this. And especially with like the free diving and stuff like that, having someone that had done that before, got to experience that as well. And then Maddie and Sristi, like they're a little bit more extroverted. So when we'd stay somewhere, they'd always be the ones to like engage in conversations with like other random groups. So it's really good just having them to break the ice, and then you can join in. And like traveling as 3 people or as a group of 4, like it just opens yourself up to so much more opportunities just from the different personalities that each person has.
How do you think traveling has changed you? Say, I'm thinking, if you didn't go traveling, if you kept going on with your job in Tauranga or whatever, kept
Yeah.
your engineering job, how do you think you're different now to what you would have been if you were still doing the same thing?
Uh, Honestly, I think I would just have less. I just have less of these stories and less experiences.
Mm.
But overall, I don't think I've changed too much. Like I've
Mm.
always been quite open um to new experiences anyway. Like I've
Yeah.
always been quite open to just doing new things and trying new stuff.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like I don't think I've changed that much.
Yeah.
But I've just got a lot more stories to
Yeah.
tell, and it's it's just set the bar higher and lower for different things.
Yeah.
So I guess it's changed me in the fact that I'm more tolerable to certain things and
Yeah.
being a bit more how do you say, a bit more open
Yeah.
to the world and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
having a bit more life experience and seeing what other cultures are like.
Yeah.
I think maybe I've become just more open to things and um, knowing what it's like elsewhere, a lot more tolerable, and I don't know. Yeah,
And
I don't think I've changed too much.
Yeah,
I just
and
got more experiences and more highs and more lows, but overall, I wouldn't say like I'm a new person or
and
anything.
that's a good answer too, because I reckon it's easy to, and maybe we've already touched on it a little bit, but it's easy to think that you're going to be dramatically different after you've seen the world. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you just have a few more experiences, but I also think that maybe the learnings or the ways in which you've changed maybe won't become apparent until
Yeah.
you're back in the routine or until a certain situation happens
Yeah.
that, I don't know, maybe you're back home and you have to catch a flight or you have to do this or this thing changes at the last second and
Yeah.
maybe you're a little bit more
Yeah,
relaxed when
yeah.
something like that
Yeah.
happens or
Yeah.
context dependent maybe.
Yeah, I know. I think you're right. Like, maybe when I go back and start working again, then those things that I experienced while traveling will become a bit more apparent, like how I handle certain situations. I think you summed it up real well. Like, I think that's one thing actually. Traveling for so long and having so many like airport experiences or
Yeah.
train rides and stuff like that. When something comes up, compared to when we first started, it's
Like
been
how much it gets you emotionally, you
Yeah,
just be
yeah.
like so baseline.
Yeah, now I think I'm a lot more chill and
Yeah.
relaxed after doing so much of it and still being okay. I think maybe subconsciously when those situations come up again or something similar, be handling them in a lot more chill and less stressed way. Yeah.
It's like with the amount of flights that we've caught now, there's been multiple times, say where we're going through security and our bag will get taken to the side after going through the scanner, and the first time that happened, we're like, oh shit, it's kind of stressful, and then it turns out to be a hand sanitizer still in your carry-on. You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And now I'm almost surprised if one of our bags doesn't get taken.
Yeah.
Because you like the most recent one, I took my safety razor, and those new ones where the new bag scanners where you don't have to take anything out. Those are pretty sick, eh? But they it picked up on my safety razor being in my bag and that there was a blade in it.
Right.
So he took my bag and like took the blade out.
Yeah.
And maybe when we first started traveling, I might have been like, oh shit,
It's really stressing, right? Yeah.
And now you're like, oh fuck, my bag's gotten taken this time.
Yeah.
Or something. You're like, oh, what is it this time? Like it's almost like a game. Like, oh, what is it this time?
Yeah.
Whereas like, when you first travel, like shit like that is quite intimidating. You have to speak to the airport security and all that stuff.
I think you've become a lot more tolerable and chill after having so many of those experiences and being fine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So when something like that comes up again, the way that you react to it now is like, oh yeah, like can't it be something too different from what I've experienced?
Yeah.
Doing some other travels and that was fine. So now you know how to handle it and you're kind of pretty confident that you'll be fine, right?
Like you have the data, right?
Yeah.
That like I have done this 7 times and it's been okay. So whereas before, I like that whole saying of like it's a bit different, but confidence is data.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can be confident because of you've done it this many times.
Yeah.
You can't really be confident per se if you haven't done the thing before.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that. Like maybe in this instance, it's more about, I don't know, being relaxed is
Yeah,
because
and
you have the data.
you don't even notice the way that you're acting to it. But when
Yeah.
you, in hindsight, when you look back, the way you reacted to that now compared to how you would have reacted it when we first started traveling is
Yeah.
quite different.
Yeah.
But because the changes have been so gradual, you don't notice it at the time, only when you look back at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An interesting learning from our travel, it's kind of almost the opposite end of the spectrum to what we're saying, but is that you can still get very stressed and frustrated and like fed up even though you're traveling. And sometimes I'm so, I don't know, cognizant of it at the time, like, fuck, I feel so frustrated right now. I'm in Italy right now. You know why? I shouldn't be frustrated, but your train got cancelled or like something happened.
Yeah.
And it has been an interesting learning that even though you're traveling, you assume that, oh, I'm gonna be so happy and relaxed while I'm away.
Yeah.
You can still get really frustrated and pissed off.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Exactly.
Shit always
yeah.
happens. Shit
Yeah,
still
yeah,
comes
yeah.
up, but it's just the way you handle them.
Yeah.
I think we got pretty lucky with no real big cancellations or big hiccups along the way. But even without that, like, I'm really confident now if something comes up, as long as you have data
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit of money, you can kind of make your way out of any situation. Even if you don't have those things, you can always
Something sorts itself out.
something
somehow,
sorts itself out.
Yeah.
But you, like the locals in most countries we've been to have always been real helpful. Like you eventually you know how to like handle each situation, no matter kind of how dire it is. Like, unless, I don't know, some sort of life-threatening scenario. But yeah, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to be okay.
Are there any specific like situations that come to mind that have been especially like frustrating or difficult at the time? Whether it's like, I don't know, public transport or I don't know, a com falling through or just something that didn't really go to plan that was quite frustrating at the time?
Not off the top of my head. We like only had one bus cancellation during like the year's travel, but it got sorted pretty quickly. And I think that's the thing, like, because we handled each situation pretty well, there hasn't been like a real big fuck up.
Yeah.
And because I've handled it like well, then subconsciously you just become a lot more comfortable with those sort of situations.
Do you think, ironically, because you're in a group, you're more relaxed in a way? Like, I'm thinking, if it was just me and Chloe going traveling, I'm probably more likely to be obviously pissed off than if I was like traveling with Caleb, Kendall, and Charlotte like we did. I probably wouldn't be as like obviously pissed off at something. I might just be more relaxed in general. So do you reckon that's kind of part of it?
That's part of it, and it helps when everyone else is quite chill as well.
Yeah.
But going back to the other question I have, I can think of something. It wasn't me personally, but Sristi. Her Vietnam visa, when they issued it, they got the dates wrong. So we all applied at the same time. The only option for that we applied for was like a 1 month visa. And stupidly, we didn't check when we got our visa like forms back. But me, Matt, and Matty were all fine. Like, our visa was for 1 month. And Sristi's one had only actually been issued for 18 days, which is clearly an admin fuck up. Like, it's not even an option to apply for an 18-day visa. But stupidly, none of us checked, and then we only realized when we were leaving Vietnam. And we left Vietnam like on our 28th or 29th day. So for us, it was like, we had 1 day buffer. But for Sristi,
10 days over.
It was like 12 days over. And we were on the bus to the Cambodian border. And the dude on the bus was just checking that we had all our documents in order. And at this point, we were already we'd already left the station. We were halfway to the border. And he checks ours. It's all good. Sristi hands hers over, and the dude looks at it, and he's like to Sristi, "You're overstaying. Like, you're 12 days over." And at that point, it was kind of like, "Oh, what the fuck? Like, well, what do we do?" And talking to some of the guys on the bus, they were just doing border runs. It's quite common. One of the dudes was real helpful. He's like, "I know, just slip them a bit of money and you'll be sweet."
Really?
That's just how it is over there. And it also didn't help that a lot of the locals that we were dealing with, like the bus driver and customs like that, they just didn't speak much English.
So you
And
can't even explain
you
the
can't even
admin,
explain
like,
it. To them, it's just like, sweet, you're an overstayer. They don't,
you fucked up.
you fucked up.
Yeah.
So the three of us ended up crossing the border because we had to. We
Yeah.
couldn't stay any longer, and then we had to leave Sristi at the
Oh,
at the border.
fuck, that would have been the worst, man.
And the day before, we spent all our Vietnamese money. Like, oh, we're leaving. Like, we don't need any of this.
Yeah.
And, like we spent it all, and we're like
Yeah.
pretty stoked. Like, sweet, like we're not taking
Don't
any
have any
more.
extra,
Yeah. And then, Sristi ends up being stopped at the border. She has to go back. The bus isn't going back, so she's kind of stranded there. But thankfully, there's this other group that was doing a border run, like kind of noticed and gave her a ride back into town, like helped her with a lot of things. But yeah, that's probably like
that would have got the
biggest
group
incident.
down.
Yeah, and we got over the border as well, and we didn't have any Cambodian internet.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what had happened to her. But eventually she got it sorted. But yeah, that was probably the biggest hiccup in the trip.
Because
But
that's like the most important or stressful stuff to the border crossing,
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
visas and the flights or whatever. Right?
yeah, and ever since then, like if we get an issue visa or get our passport stamped, like now I'm like diligently
What's the
checking
date?
what's the date? Like, okay, nah, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
But I think it was quite a common scam. Like when she ended up getting it sorted at immigration in Vietnam airport, there was like, by the sounds of it, like a group of people who had a similar issue. So sounds like it just could be like a common scam that they do. So if you go to Vietnam and apply for a visa, make sure make sure you check the date is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually that's a good segue, mate.
Yeah.
Because I thought maybe last question to finish us off. If people are listening and they're wanting to do like maybe not necessarily as long as you, but they're wanting to go traveling for a decent amount of time, what would be some of your advice? Like, what are some high level tips or advice to people who are wanting to do a big trip as well?
I think initially before your big trip, do like a little bit of planning, but not an excessive amount. Definitely don't plan exactly what you'll be doing every single day. Even if you are, I guess it's a bit different. If you're doing like a short trip, yeah, fair enough, but always try to leave yourself a bit of an opportunity to do something that someone has suggested that you've met.
Yeah.
And for us, that's opened us up to like so many different places that we never would have seen. So don't plan your trip out too specifically. Definitely do like a little bit of planning beforehand and have like a rough idea of where you want to go. But if you're doing this longer term travel, by the end of it, you're gonna I think notice yourself doing maybe a little bit less planning, and hopefully coming across some situations where you haven't planned and you've just taken a local's advice on what to do.
Yeah.
What else is there? Right now, that's all I can think of.
Yeah.
But and also, if an opportunity comes up, ask yourself, why shouldn't I do this, instead of why should I do this?
Yeah.
Like just be open.
That's such a good one.
Try do as many things as possible that you wouldn't normally do at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good advice, man. And what about, I asked you right at the beginning, now that you've been doing it for a while, what about the financial stuff? Like, how much do you reckon people should plan financially?
It's a tough one because everyone travels really differently.
Yeah, true.
Financially, I don't know. It depends how you want to do it. Like, even just talking to you guys, like I'm talking about catching like a 5-hour bus ride, and you guys
Like
are
Andy, or even us, but Andy's like, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm gonna catch the bus, which is maybe 2 hours faster, but also 4 times more expensive. So really,
it's like context dependent.
It's really context dependent. Like that one's really hard to answer.
Yeah.
But that one's too context dependent to answer.
Because like when we go traveling, sort of how we've been doing it lately, and it's sort of, we don't include the accommodation and stuff in this, but we budget like around £100 a day for spending.
Yeah.
And like some days you might go over or under, but if you budget that amount, it makes it easier to know, like, oh, should we do this activity, or should we like buy this meal?
Actually,
we can get a nicer meal tonight because we've got a couple hundred now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's too context dependent. But for me personally, because I was traveling, because I know how much I've saved up.
Yeah.
It's kind of been a blessing that I to not have to budget too. I guess in Asia, like you don't have to budget too heavily.
Yeah.
And if you know how much you have, don't budget too consciously.
Yeah.
It might hinder the opportunity that you have. Like sometimes, like, fuck it up. Normally I wouldn't spend that much at home, but I'm on holiday, so I'll go out and I'll try not to think about how much it will be.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Like
with
getting too fixated.
Yeah, that's it. Don't become too fixated on how much everything is. If more think about what opportunity, what chances will we have to do this?
Yeah.
Like, when are you going to come back and have this opportunity to maybe spend a little bit more and have this experience?
Do this boat trip to go diving. Or
exactly. Yeah.
Like
just don't become too fixated on what you're spending your money on, within a reason, of course.
Yeah. Let's buy a helicopter.
Yeah. I guess that would be another one of those tips. Like, don't become too fixated on having a budget, because coming from New Zealand, the chance of you having this opportunity come up again is quite rare. So sometimes it's okay to spend a little bit more and treat yourself a bit and not have to worry about it.
Because then I bet you also have days where you spend hardly anything.
Yeah.
Where you're just chilling at the ACOM, maybe you buy some food or something.
Yeah, hopefully it all balances it out. Balances it out at the end of the day. But
and if it doesn't, it'll figure itself out.
Exactly.
Just can't get back home, but that's all right.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you can get back home somehow with all your belongings,
calling mum,
then it's okay. Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you so much for doing this, bro. It was really good to chat.
Thanks for inviting me.
I've been thoroughly enjoying your Instagram posts. Again, I'd recommend people to check out your Instagram posts. I like how you're using it like a diary, or a way of documenting your journey. You have a whole bunch of photos and videos, and then you also explain them as well. And I've been really enjoying it, man.
Yeah, and it's good to look back. I know it'll be good to look back on in maybe 10 or 20 years' time.
Yeah.
Just having a little bit more than photos and giving each photo a little bit of context. So that's been really good.
I think what you were saying, like how you've been talking about reflecting on the photos from the start of your trip, like it's not even in heat, like a lot of years to come. It's even when you're no longer there.
Exactly.
And you look back on the photos like, whoa, I can't believe I was doing that thing or in that place.
Yeah. No, it's been really good. But thanks for having me on, bro.
Hey.
It's been great.
No worries, bro. You talk well.
Thank you.
That's us.
Sure.